A tough week in Atlantic City for both basketball teams leaves them looking back at their seasons. While the men's ice hockey team awaits to see who they will face in the ECAC hockey finals, what do these three teams need to do to improve either long-term or short-term? Bobcat Breakdown starts right now. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, Aiden Barrett, and with me are Ethan Logue and Shannon Tierney. Are you guys ready to get into it?
Aiden, I'm really excited to be here tonight for your first time on Bobcat Breakdown. Shannon, I think we got a really great debate in front of us.
I am very excited to debate tonight. I won't quote Jack Maine, but I will say I have been studying all day, And although we're debating about sports, I want everybody at home to debate which of the three of us has the bluest eyes.
All right, let's get it started here with some women's basketball. The Bobcats were the number 2 seed going up against the number 7 seed, Ryder Bronx. The game did not go Quinnipiac's favor as they were upset by Ryder 62-50. Ethan, what's one thing Quinnipiac wishes they did differently?
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of things the Quinnipiac women's basketball team wishes they did differently, especially coming into the tournament as a 2 seed. And with their history and their past in the tournament and how well they've done recently, winning multiple MAC tournaments in the last 5 years, I think 3 is the correct number. But the one takeaway I have, the one regret I think that this women's basketball team will really have, was the way they finished the regular season. They finished the regular season going 2-2, 2 games coming against Niagara, and 2 of them coming up against Siena. And both those teams pretty low in the MAC standings. Siena was a 9 seed in the tournament, just squeaked into the Final 8, and Niagara didn't even make the Final 8 of the MAC tournament. So going into March, where you really need confidence, you need that swagger to win these close games and advance further into the tournament, games against the lesser teams in the standings are games you need to win.
I definitely agree. Confidence plays such a big impact in sports, and it was definitely a shock seeing as I feel like since we've both been here, the Quinnipiac women's basketball team has been one of the more consistent winning teams here at Quinnipiac, so it definitely was a shock to see them get such an upset. One thing I thought that walking away from that loss they're going to be thinking about is how bad they played offensively. I think they've been very inconsistent on offense all year, and they knew going into this tournament and into these games that they needed to step it up on offense, and they just had a bad field goal percentage, inconsistent trouble shooting from the inside, and I think definitely walking away, that's going to be one of the things that they're thinking about. And I also think you have to realize that their senior class was very strong this year. Vanessa Adoji, Shaq Edwards, Kiara Bikini. Those are 3 really solid players for your program. And so to squander an opportunity for them to really lead a team deep into a MAC playoff run and hopefully, obviously they didn't, but hopefully make the the NCAA tournament, it's really frustrating and I know disappointing to squander that opportunity. Yeah, I'm sure they definitely were expecting a lot more from this tournament, but hopefully next year this will just inspire them even more and make them want to do a lot better next year.
They're still returning the Defensive Player of the Year and Player of the Year in the MAC, so there's still a lot to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
One bright spot from this tournament was Mackenzie DeWeese. DeWeese was named MAC Player of the Year after her impressive performance all season. Unfortunately, she only put up 2 points in the MAC quarterfinal game. Shannon, how much did DeWeese's absence on the box score impact this game?
I mean, I think it impacted this game greatly. If you take any sport, any team here at Quinnipiac, if you take away their MAC Player of the Year last year on the men's soccer team, if Eamon Whalen just showed up in their tournaments and just didn't shoot and barely scored, how would that affect that team? Her stats have been incredible all season. She was 6th in the MAC in points, 6th in rebound. She was 1st in field goal percentage, 4th in steals, and 7th in the assist and turnover ratio. She reached a bunch of milestones, 500 points, 300 rebounds, 150 assists, and 100 steals in her career this year. And to have her not show up in the way that this team is probably expecting, that impacted the team so much, and I think it really made a difference on this loss, and I think it might have been one of the major factors in this loss is the fact that she didn't show up in the way that they expected her to. They're used to being able to rely on her, and to have a player not show up like that, it was very unfortunate to see.
Right, you made a lot of great points there, naming her stats, how she was top 8, top 10 in the MAC in many categories. And she didn't win that award by accident. She had a very great season, 12.5 points per game, 7.6 rebounds, 2.6 assists, shot 48% from the field and 36% from three. That's outstanding numbers, definitely deserving of MAC Player of the Year. But like you said, when you get that title, there are expectations that follow it. You need to step up in moments like we saw on last Wednesday in the MAC quarterfinal. You need to make the big shot when you're asked upon it. And unfortunately, albeit there wasn't really a situation to make a big shot to keep it a close game or anything, but she just didn't step up. Shot 11% from the floor in that game, was 1 of 9 shooting, no free throws, very few assists, only 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and as we said, 2 points. So just with that title of MAC Player of the Year, that comes a lot of pressure, I understand, but it also requires a lot of improvement.
Yeah, and I don't want to take away anything from her because to win that as a junior is such an accomplishment.
Absolutely.
And just because she had a bad game, all athletes are going to have bad games.
Right.
It happens to the best, and she obviously is one of the best in the MAC for winning that award. So even though she didn't show up in that game, it's still such an accomplishment that she was MAC Player of the Year. So I think we should highlight that too.
Sticking with basketball, the men's team also had an early exit from the MAC tournament after a mediocre regular season. For the first time since the 2017-28 season, Baker Dunleavy's club went under 500. What needs to change for this team to be competitive again in the future? Ethan?
There are a couple of things that need to change. First off, they can't afford to lose any more players to the transfer portal. Just yesterday, men's basketball beat reporter John Surratt tweeted out that first-year guard Bobcat would enter the transfer portal. So you can't be losing young players like Akat when you're trying to build a reputation as a consistently strong team in the MAC. But I also want to point out the fact that they need to get back to the style of play they had a year or two ago. I know it's not the best strategy in the world to rely on 1 or 2 players for your entire offense, but you look at the teams, Rich Kelly, Kevin Marfo, your Cam Youngs, those guys carried your offense. They brought you success. And I think there are a couple guys on this team that can replicate that. Yeah, Jacob Rigoni did an okay job this year with that. He obviously was the leader of this team, obviously all-time leading three-point shooter, 1,000-point club, so his reputation definitely precedes himself. He's a great player, but there are a couple players I think that you need to build around in the coming years, and that includes first years Lewis Courtwright and Tamu Shinnery, as well as sophomore forward, the big man Seth Pinckney. So there are a lot of players that you need to build around, and especially specifically your young core.
Kind of going off of that, they need to start building off of the players they already have, and also obviously recruiting, I think, is a place that they could step up. I think they tend to go the Pennsylvania, New York, Northeast area.
New Hampshire, yeah. You need to branch out a little.
I feel like branching out could do a lot for this team. I know a lot of the successful teams here at Quinnipiac have a diverse group and have players from all over the world, honestly. So I think maybe expanding to more of the nation and looking for some different players and bringing in some diversity to this team, especially with someone like Rigoni leaving, I think that could also help bring some competitive edge into this team for them.
And real quick, you also need to bank on leadership from seniors next year like Savion Lewis and Tyrese Williams.
They're definitely going to need the seniors next year to step up.
The future is bright for the Quinnipiac men's basketball team with some rookies already making a name for themselves. Shannon, if you could pick only one player to build your team around, who are you taking? Luis Courtwright or Tamu Shinnery?
I'm personally going to go with Shinnery just because he did have more field goals, he had more points with 210, and more rebounds this season with 81. I just think that he is the more versatile player of the two, and I think if he can start getting more threes, I think he could be the better and more important player moving forward, but it was really a toss-up for me here, and I think it does just kind of depend on which one of them can step up next year, going into their sophomore year and coming off of their rookie season.
Yeah, I totally agree. Both players will be key figures in this Bobcat team for the next 3 years. I'm actually going to go a different route, though. I am going to go with Courtwright, and it's basically for the opposite reasons you made. You made good points talking about Shinnery's production this year. He had more points, more field goals, all of that. But I think it's important to highlight that Courtwright played 4 less games than him and started 16 less. Courtwright only started 2 games to Shinnery's 18. So, again, these are important figures to know. Courtwright had more points per game, more rebounds per game, more total assists, a higher field goal percentage, and a higher free throw percentage. So all these factors you need to account for. I think both players will be, like I said, key figures in the years to come, but they're definitely, I would have to give the edge to Courtwright on this. I think he's more important to build around.
Yeah, we'll have to see which of them steps up next year, but they've both had very great rookie seasons.
Yes.
Both really good points, guys. Q30 women's basketball beat reporter Eric Kerr recapped the MAC tournament after a full year of uncertainty.
From this
The tournament's been canceled, effective immediately.
to that. It's a blessing that college basketball has reached this point. The completion of conference tournaments like the MAC.
Junior year, not even making it because of COVID, and then this year just ends on a perfect note, and I could not be happier.
Me not being able to play in a tournament last year to now come back this year, and from all the doubt and everything that we went through this whole entire year, for us to be able to win this championship is just something special. I just can't put it in words. I love these guys.
It was an experience that everyone was grateful for.
I want to give credit to Rich Enzer and his whole staff. They do an amazing job putting this together. We're really lucky to get to compete in this year's postseason. In a crazy year, we don't take it for granted that we were able to compete, and we're lucky to be a part of this.
The road to finishing MAC basketball was not a usual route, as COVID-19 was a detour for every team.
I don't think everybody understands what it is like when you have to get shut down. Like, you really are down. Like, there's no working out or nothing. You just sit in the house. We all love playing the game. So just sitting out, it's just so crazy.
For Mayor's women's basketball head coach Brian Georges, the triumph of a championship in a COVID season made this year's team even more special.
That's what the other teams didn't. They didn't have to go through COVID. They didn't have to go through isolation and quarantine. That really helps make this one as special as I've ever had.
To overcome the struggle, teams had to be mentally tough. And Iona's head coach Rick Pitino made sure to inspire that toughness when telling his guys the bigger story.
You have no idea how difficult it was coaching this year, and it was even more difficult playing this year. But like I told the players almost daily, we're never going to complain because over 500,000 people have lost their lives and didn't even have funeral services. So we're never going to complain about what we went through.
As Iona celebrates their victory today, expect the entire MAC to be doing the same thing after completing their tournament. And also expect them to be back here next year in 2022 at Boardwalk Hall. Reporting from Atlantic City, New Jersey, Eric Kerr, Q30 Sports.
Thanks, Eric. Some great stuff there. We're going to take our first break, but when we come back, the men's hockey team is preparing for its ECAC championship game this weekend. We'll be right back.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfies nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. It's here. It's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? My. Oh. No, you can't.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. Let's take it to the ice to discuss QBSN's Game of the Week. The game of the week is the ACAC Hockey Championship, including Quinnipiac men's ice hockey and the winner of the Colgate-St. Lawrence game. Q30's men ice hockey beat reporter Steve Pappas has a chance to talk to the 3 remaining ACAC hockey coaches and their approach to a one-game playoffs.
It will only take 2 games to crown an ECAC hockey champion, but it will be done this week. As Thursday, St. Lawrence and Colgate will face off. The winner will come right here to the Frank Perotti Jr. Arena, where they will take on number 1 Quinnipiac. They say in sports, anything can happen on any given night, and in a one-game playoff, that rings true, and every single coach has a different way of handling that situation.
I think it's just about getting your team prepared ahead of time to understand there's going to be adversity and being ready to attack that adversity. You can't expect everything to go your way, so you have to be prepared. I think that's the big thing I like to focus on is we're going to hit adversity. So how are we going to deal with it? And we talk about it as the season goes on. I think you know how teams handle adversity is really defines your season.
For St. Lawrence head coach Brent Brecky in his second year coaching the program, the team has taken an incredible leap forward. Last season, the Skating Saints were a pretty uncompetitive team, winning just 4 games all season, ending the year winless in 23 of their final 24 games. This year, Coach Brecky has the team always in the game, as 8 of the Saints' 12 games have been decided by a goal, and says staying aggressive is key in a one-game playoff.
I think the biggest thing is just understanding to go after it. We don't want to sit back. We want to be an aggressive team. That's the way we find when we're playing our best hockey and we're successful is we're aggressive.
Colgate head coach Don Vaughn, in his 28th season as the Raiders bench boss, has seen his fair share of ECAC hockey and NCAA playoff games. However, his team has not. Vaughn is stressing that his team stay within itself and play to its identity if they want to face off with Quinnipiac in the ECAC hockey final on Saturday.
It's combating the nervous energy, I think, especially with a young team. You can already feel it at practice. From a coaching standpoint, we've got to find a way to get our guys to a place where we're just playing our game.
St. Lawrence and Colgate will play Thursday at 5 p.m. in Canton, New York. The winner will come back here to the Frank Perotti Jr. Arena to play Quinnipiac on Saturday at 4 p.m. From Hamden, Connecticut, I'm Stephen Pappas, Q30 Sports.
The championship game is slowly approaching, but Quinnipiac's opponent is still unknown. If you're a Rampecknold, who would you rather play, Colgate or St. Lawrence?
You want me to start with this one, Shannon?
Take it away, Ethan.
All right. At the end of the day, I'm sure head coach Rampecknold would say this too. I don't really think it matters all too much who the Bobcats play. They've had success against both teams, but the question asks if you had to pick one team, so I am going to go with St. Lawrence. You may think that because of the most recent game against Colgate was a loss. The Bobcats lost 4-3, but I wouldn't look too deep into that. Quinnipiac already won the Cleary Cup at the time, so they weren't really playing for much. I think they want to play St. Lawrence because of their recent games against them. They're 4-0 in their last 4 games and have outscored them 13-6. That's really important when you're going into the playoffs, obviously. Obviously, you have a great goaltender in Keith Petruzzelli who's going to keep you in these games, and he's had a lot more success against St. Lawrence this year. And at this time of the year, I think goaltending trumps everything.
Yeah, I also said the same thing as you. I said St. Lawrence as well, and the last time that Quinnipiac lost to them was January 3rd, so a long time ago, and since then they've beaten them 4 times. Yes, Colgate had a really bad loss earlier to Quinnipiac in the season, 9-0. And I know you said it wasn't too big of a deal that they did just lose to Colgate, but I do think that gives them a bit of confidence. And one thing that we did talk about earlier was how much confidence impacts sports. So I think you'd much rather go up against a team that you've beaten 4 times and is less confident going up against you than a team that is going to have a little bit of confidence going in, even though they may know that Quinnipiac didn't have much to play for. But I still think it gives them kind of just hope and makes them just a little bit more confident than St. Lawrence saying we did just beat this team, maybe we can do it again. I would just personally, if I'm Rand, probably want to go up against the team that's going to be less confident facing us.
Right, but at the end of the day, I think what's most important is no matter who the Bobcats are playing, that team is going to have a playoff win under their belt. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have that experience. They're going to know what it takes, whether it be St. Lawrence or Colgate. So Quinnipiac's going to have to play their A game no matter what because they're going to be coming in cold. They haven't played in a long time.
I do think that sometimes bye weeks can be important, but sometimes they can hurt the team as one of them is going to have the momentum and the confidence of that they just beat another playoff team. Right. So hopefully Quinnipiac will come out hot and get the win.
The men's ice hockey team racked up an impressive list of awards throughout the season. But with only 4 teams playing in the conference, do these awards really matter as much as they usually do?
I'll let you go first on that. I'm pretty passionate about this. I'll let you go first.
So So you might not have seen too much of a heated debate between me and Ethan so far, but we might have a heated debate with one of the producers after the show, because I honestly think that this is kind of an insulting question.
That's a joke.
I just think with everything that these players have gone through in the past year, it's almost like these awards mean even more to them.
I agree, 100%.
They have been through, we all know, we all have been through so much this year, and I think it could just be so uplifting to get these awards this year. And I think, yes, there are less teams and whatever, but they still matter. They still matter to these guys, and this is what they've been working for. And with everything that happened last year, I feel like these mean even more to them. They've been waiting to do this for so long.
Right. I'm going to quote the legendary Stephen A. Smith here. Jack Maine, is that a trick question? Like, seriously, do awards matter? Like, that's just a joke. I'm sorry. Of course they matter. Yeah, in my opinion, I think hockey's the biggest team sport of them all, with the we over me mentality. But still, the fans, people like us, the analysts, awards still matter. I mean, especially, you can look at it, yeah, so many Bobcat players have been nominated for ECAC awards. Ty Smilanic for Rookie of the Year, Keith Petruzzelli, Goalie of the Year, Odin Tufto for Player of the Year, which I'm not trying to jinx anything. I think they all deserve that.
Those are going to be so
awards.
important to them, too. I don't think they're going to take it very lightly if they lose those.
And you could make the argument, yeah, there's only 4 teams. But like Shannon said, with all the things these teams, these players, and not just ECAC, but all of it, all of the players in collegiate sports have gone through, I think, like you said, awards mean a lot more. And players like Keith Petruzzelli and Odin Tufto have not only been nominated for ECAC awards, they were nominated for Hobie Baker.
National awards.
Yeah, national awards for the best collegiate hockey player in the nation.
And you think the seniors are going to just not care about that because there's less teams and it's less competitive this year?
That's a slap in the face. That's an insult. I'm sorry. That's just, it's so obvious to me. I'm glad we both agree on this.
Definitely glad we both agree.
Very much agreed, guys. Let's wrap up this part of our show with a prediction. If Quinnipiac wins the ECAC Hockey Championship, what's the reason for it?
I'll make this quick. It's experience. For me, it's pretty easy. Leadership is also very vital, and I think Quinnipiac has both leadership and experience, but experience is more important. Keith Petruzzelli, Odin Tufto, all these players I mentioned before, Zach Metza, Peter Deliberatore, all these players is what gonna get you that ECAC title and a ring on your finger. That experience and that leadership will propel you and get you an ECAC title.
Well, I'm starting to think you look at my notes because I said leadership, and just Odin Tufto as a captain, he's been amazing as a captain. He has 38 assists throughout the season, which is just insane. I'm pretty sure he leads the country in that. Yeah,
school record.
School record. And that just shows to me you're a team player. You're
Right.
setting up opportunities for your teammates. I feel like assists are the way to show that you are a team player, and he's setting up those opportunities for the team. And not just Odin Tufto as a captain, but Keith Petruzzelli as a senior, as a goaltender. I think you're also kind of in that leadership spot, and he's obviously just been so reliable for the team this year.
And I'm a little biased, but I think hockey players are the most selfless athletes out there. So, you never hear them like bragging or anything like that. That leadership core and that locker room is just perfect.
I don't have time to debate you about the selflessness of hockey players, but sure, Ethan, yeah.
All right, we're going to take one more break, but don't go anywhere because we're giving you our final roars when we return.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Joe, spotlight on this last one. There it is.
Keep going with it. Leo! They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
I know what you're thinking.
I need a job.
I need a new career.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working.
I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. It's time for Final Roars. Ethan, get us going.
All right, thanks, Aiden. I'll get us started. Today, Quinnipiac students and faculty received an email from the school that informed students of the university's plans to begin to ease COVID-19 restrictions and begin to allow students to have more freedom. The email entailed that starting March 20th, residential students would be allowed to have students from other residence hall in their own residence hall. Visitors would be allowed to visit on-campus students between the hours of 9 a.m. and 11 p.m., and the New Haven shuttle service would be back up and running at 50% capacity and bring students to shuttle stops around New Haven. However, what caught the eye and brightened the day for myself and other journalists in the room with me now was the announcement that students would be allowed to attend Quinnipiac sporting events starting March 19th. Now, you've heard other Q30 sports journalists on this very show talk about how Quinnipiac Athletics should allow student media to attend these games and produce content for other students and possible employers to see. So you're probably sick and tired of people like myself asking to be allowed to these sporting events. But that is simply because we care so much about what we do in this organization. We as student journalists rely on these opportunities, experiences, and exposure to sports reporting and the covering of Quinnipiac teams. We take the experiences from organizations like Q30 and apply them when we are actually in the field covering these games. And being a part of Q30 is one of the main reasons why I chose Quinnipiac over other schools. It's because of the experience you receive outside the classroom. So, to the administration, I just want to thank you for listening and providing myself and my fellow members of student media the opportunity to cover games in person once again. I can promise you it is greatly appreciated and did not go unnoticed.
Today, the Quinnipiac women's soccer team traveled to New Jersey to take on Ryder in their second game of the season after beating Marist 3-1 to start off their season. Quinnipiac dominated Marist last week. Although they were down 1 at one point, they outshot them 16-6 and held possession the majority of the game. Today felt similar as Quinnipiac had 13 more shots and 4 more shots on goal than Ryder, but they had a rough start, going down 2-0 early on. However, the Bobcats came back and were able to come back and make it 2-2. Both goals were made by first-year Rebecca Cook. She actually made the second goal in the 86th minute of the game. Cook was also named MAC Rookie of the Week this week, so she's off to a great start for the Bobcats. So what has Quinnipiac shown us in these first 2 games? 1, they can score. They're shooting a lot more already than they did last season. And players like Cook and Scott are showing that they can set up opportunities for their teammates as well as send some of their own into the back of the net. Also, they've shown that they can come back from behind. A lot of their losses last year, they were just unable to score, and especially score late in the game once they were down in the second half. Today, they held their composure, played till the very end, and were able to come up with a huge game-tying goal in the last 5 minutes of regulation. This was a good team last year, but one that had a lot of room for improvement. And now in the first 2 games of the season, they've shown that improvement, and they've shown it in areas where I feel like they were weak back in 2019. Although the Max preseason coaching poll had them finishing in 4th, if they continue to play like this, and if Phillips can start coming through with the saves that she was making in her first year, I'd definitely watch out for them.
The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team put 95 pucks in the back of the net in this year in 27 games. That's the most in the conference by 33. Keith Petrozelli faced 662 shots, and only 47 of them got past him. It is clear the Bobcats are head and shoulders the best team in this conference. Now, they're just 60 minutes away from proving that, in a worst-case scenario, Ty Smolenic doesn't play in this game. Go ahead, take away his 14 goals. They still have 19 more goals than any other team in the conference. Oh, and by the way, the team trailing them, their season got suspended and are ineligible for the tournament. So either the Bobcats have to beat a team that they went 4-1-1 against this year or beat a team that won just 4 games this year. The Bobcats are good, and they will be looking to do some damage in the NCAA tournament this year. This is their year. That is all we got for you tonight on Bobcat Breakdown. Thank you for sticking around. Be sure to check out our website, q30tv.com. Follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports and download our app, Q30 Television. For everyone behind the scenes, Ethan and Shannon, I'm Aiden Barrett. See you next week. Same time, same place.